Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to your morning cup of coffee with Mary May, Leadership Strategist. Before you make any decision, we got to make sure we have our cup of coffee or tea. So I have my coffee and I'm ready to chat about these leadership nuggets and how you can integrate the GPS and learn how to navigate how it is that you will succeed and level up in your career. So want to say happy Tuesday. Let me get my coffee. And so as we are engaging in this whole transformation season, for me, transformation season is always so it's always decision time, it's always go time, unless you are choosing to stay stuck and keep moving in slow motion. You have to make that first decision. So like I said, before you make any decision, have your cup of coffee and or your tea, sometimes smoothie for some people. But the thing is about, in order to have a transformation in your career, in your life, in relationships, however it is that you excel and succeed, you have to be willing to do something different. And doing something different means that you will be a little uncomfortable. You will kind of want to navigate things a little bit differently. So you got to make sure that you make that decision. So who am I? I am a leadership strategist. My name is Mary May, and I help people level up in their career and position themselves for the promotion or the next level as far as how it is that they show up in the workplace. And in thinking about how you show up in the workplace, sometimes you got to take a look back in the rearview mirror from your previous experiences and understand how it is that things that you experience tend to have challenges where you may feel handcuffed or where you may feel stuck. So being able to pull that curtain back and identify how it is that you can navigate and position yourself differently is very, very instrumental in how it is that you secure that next level of promotion, that next level raise that you're looking for, or just being able to position and navigate a schedule that's going to work effectively for you in your day-to-day life, such that things work out well for you. And so one of the things that I am not doing great with this morning is this virtual background. So we're going to have to get rid of that in the middle of the show. And something I normally don't like to do is change up in the middle. However, that was not working for me. So our focus nugget for today is identifying how it is that we as leaders wear masks in multiple different ways. But sometimes when we wear the mask, we're wearing a mask and it's at detriment to ourselves. It's costing us something. It's costing our emotional wellness, which is also costing our ability to kind of level up in a way that would serve us in the best way possible. So when you think about wearing a mask, what is it that you're hiding? What is it that you are protecting yourself from? And how is it that what you are protecting yourself from, how is it carrying over from one situation to the next? So I want to, just invite and thank anybody who is joining me, live in this conversation. Engagement, your questions, your thoughts, your ahas are definitely welcome. If you feel that, somebody else that could benefit, please feel free to share. But also, if you're catching me on the replay, I thank you as well, because I want to make sure that I pour into your cup so that you can excel in your career and in your personal relationships, so that you could be well paid and promoted to continue to have that next level life experience created on your own terms. So your engagement is definitely welcome, both live and on the replay. And sometimes you got to replay a couple times, because just as reading a book, just as listening to various conversations and podcasts, things land differently depending on the iteration that you hear it. Things land differently depending on how it is that you hear it. So one of the things is that our conversation is talking about today, leadership microaggressions. And are they hiding in plain sight? So Is this conversation about microaggressions? Yes and no. So, yes, it is about microaggressions, something that you hear about in a variety of different leadership communities and so forth, like that. However, I want to pull the curtain back and take us through understanding how it impacts us when it comes to understanding how it is that we are leveling up, how it is we're perceived, how we are projecting from a historical standpoint versus how we're creating our blueprint to continue to lead forward and level up leading forward. So we generally need, when I'm working with individuals and we're starting that process of just kind of peeling back the layers of who they are in leadership, how they present themselves. So you might hear me say show up, but it's also how they present themselves, how are they being received, and then how do they manage the residue. It's the residue that helps you navigate and position yourself either in a favorable position or in a non-favorable position. So being aware of how it is that you have blind spots and barriers of either previous experiences or experiences with your current team that you're working with, you may be carrying energy that is blocking your ability to be seen as that viable candidate that can level up and manage the project, or that viable leader who is ready to take on, this next new thing that's happening for the company and being able to take their vision to the next level. You may be blocking it from things that you don't even understand, and it could be coming directly from the residue of a variety of different microaggressions that you have encountered and experienced that is impacting you and your communication, that's creating handcuffs and limitations in regards to how you believe your success is supposed to be done, how you stand in your authority as a leader, and that how you also do that mirror check to ensure that what you are intending to present, intending to communicate, intending to receive, and how it's received back, and how categories are placed upon you without even your consent, and sometimes without even your awareness. So when you think about transformation, if you continue doing the things that you have always done, then you can constantly be continuing to doing the things that's going to set up sabotage, and you not having the wherewithal to be able to reframe and understand your perspective and your goals and your intentions, and how you are blocked and being able to activate and live that life on your own terms, such that you can recognize the microaggressions that are perceived as well as the reality. So are you approachable? Are you? Are you approachable? Are you open to new ideas? Do you speak in an articulate, stance, or, where people understand you? Or is that something that you think is like, overlooked and not necessarily um important in how you communicate, how you are positioned? So if we think about the GPS and infusing that into your day-to-day, usually that 2 millimeter stretch or a 2 millimeter challenge that professionals find is that they're not recognizing the residue of things that they have experienced in previous work situations, be it at the current employer or somewhere else. They don't realize the emotional injury that has taken place, and how it is that individual occurrence is now spread across every situation. So if you experience harassment, you experience anything of othering, bullying, being passed over for a promotion, you can necessarily be carrying energy of trauma that is not necessarily happening for you in this moment. However, it's happening for you because you have not chosen to kind of deal with and confront what is actually your experience. And so therefore, as a leader, you believe that you can compartmentalize how it is that your work-life balance actually works together or works against each other based on that residue that you have from an interaction, from something that was said to you that was kind of like off-putting, or it was really like not complimentary, although the person may have had the intentions of being your ally and understanding how it is that they can complement the things that you do, but they may not realize that what they're saying, or sometimes they do realize, and we're not going to take all the permission away from them, but they may not acknowledge the residue or what it triggers for you in your productivity. And the most important thing is not about pointing the finger to what other people are doing, but what have you chosen to do in making sure that you are not invisible, you are not overlooked, but then also that you are not carrying the energy from one interaction into your personal life, into your relationships, into how you interact with your friends and associates. Because one thing is that we think, okay, work is work and life is life. But the reality is you are the consistent narrative. You are the consistent value in all of those things. And if you are experiencing some kind of invalidation in one place, it's going to impact you in other aspects of your life. And so to process that, to understand that, peel back that layer of the onion is so important, because if not doing such, you end up doing harm emotionally to you and anybody who comes in contact with you. So when we talk about a workplace microaggressions, it's three different types of workplace microaggressions. And it's like, I'm not really diving into microaggressions per se. I really want to dive into the residue and how it impacts your decision making, your productivity, your ability to like stand in your authority as a leader unapologetically, such that when things are said, when things are done, either you can call the person to the carpet, you can make them aware of how things make you feel, how they impact you from an emotional standpoint, but not emotional where you're in their office crying, where you're in your office like whining and saying, oh, woe is me, but that you're standing in your authority and giving yourself the permission to advocate for yourself, because in doing that, you command the attention and you command the authority to communicate that, yes, they pulled me to the carpet for something that was that I was doing unintentionally, unknowingly, or without that, outcome that I was looking for. However, they also now know that you have what it takes in that power toolkit of yours and that leadership blueprint of yours, that you can handle whatever it is that is thrown at you, and that you're going to stand forth in your authority to maintain the missions of the business. But when they don't see that and they see you wavering back and forth and not really pushing the envelope, yes, there may be some HR meetings behind how you show up in doing this. Yes, there may be some conversations to get on same level playing ground so that you and whomever this is in your team can understand what the intentions, what the communications are. But it's things that you could be mindful of to make sure that you're not doing on a continual basis that invalidates you, that invalidates your team, that invalidates those people who are surrounding you, because of you not dealing with the residue of what actually is occurring for you. And so when you think about workplace microaggressions, it's three different types. So it's the micro assault, it's the micro insult, and it's the micro invalidation. They almost all kind of, have some interplay with racial dynamics and encounters that are, kind of prone to how you manage and engage and dance within a microaggression. And I'm not here to get into the racial component of it, because that's not going to serve this conversation well. However, I want to just like, a micro assault is like that conscious, intentional discriminatory action that you believe, you understand, you experience it as if the person has intentions on saying something that's kind of off-putting or off to the side about you and your work. Whereas the micro assaults are like a verbal, nonverbal, or even an environmental communication that kind of subtly gives you that feeling of they're being rude, or they're conveying something that's insensitive, that's demeaning to who you are culturally. And you don't have to step aside and dismiss who you are culturally in the workplace. However, you also need to be respected in the fact that in the workplace, in how it is that you stand in your authority, that you're not carrying, again, that residue of things of how you as a professional of color, has had thoughts and ideas and things that you have shared and contributed around the conference table as being invalidated or not being taken as serious and important enough that individuals will take heed and take note of how it is that you show up. So they all could have that flavor of you personalizing it. Again, we can't compartmentalize. We shouldn't compartmentalize. We really should always try to maintain whatever balance means for us, but that takes that personal, honest inventory and knowing how it is that not only that we communicate how we stand in our authority, but also how do you advocate for you? How do you advocate in the absence of this? Because if you stand in the residue, then the residue keeps you in the place of thinking, okay, well, this was taken from me. This was separated. This was a part of the process that I had to grow through. But how do you make that 2 millimeter change that you don't just keep residue in your day-to-day briefcase, that you're just waiting for a moment for the micro insult to happen or the micro invalidation to happen? You actually understand that the residue is real. You look at how the residue is real, and you look at how you can keep it clean, how you can keep it crisp, how you can stand in your authority. But that takes work. And that takes work of really a daily divorce of self, where you're not owning and stepping into something that is going to keep dwelling in your mind and keep dwelling in your energy. Because if you're allowing it to dwell, then the next time that somebody taps on that door of that residue of that microaggression, assault, invalidation, insult that you have received before, again, at this workplace or somewhere else, this relationship or the previous one with this parent-child situation or, something else, you are going to begin to spread that negative energy if you don't take inventory on how the residue is living in your day-to-day decisions, your narrative, your language, your presentation, how people are receiving you. Are they receiving you? Not necessarily that you're not approachable. You want to be approachable. You want to be open, but you want to be open to the impact of knowing that the way that you have positioned or prepared the project to have its success is not necessarily the only way to get to the destination. So just like the GPS, when you were in the car, there's multiple detours and ways to get you to the outcome that you look for. And if you are stuck in the residue, you end up creating your own barrier and your own roadblock that does not allow one for your team to kind of navigate with you and work in understanding your leadership, but then also it does not allow you to grow. You end up placing your own personal handcuffs in your situation in a way that you parallel doing what you didn't want done to you, and you end up creating the residue over and over again that ends up creating distance and not having a productive moment or day or time where individuals can kind of really work with you well. So we need to understand how those things kind of shape our experiences, how those moments when we are othered, when there's a misperception of a compliment, when there is somebody talking about, does your hair grow this way, or you talk very proper, or didn't expect you to have such intellectual context. All of those things, when they trigger you, when they have that residue that causes your productivity to be different, it may or may not be that that person is aware, but it also may or may not be the intention that they are really trying to just tear you down. Where that comes from, that you believe that, is the core of the issue that needs that 2 millimeter shift. Because as long as you believe that somebody is going to question your skill, question your authority, question your ability to perform the project at hand, the core of that experience makes you react and make you create that barrier in your leadership and in your ability to kind of stand in your authority and grow and expand and excel and get well paid and get promoted and be visible in all things leadership. Like, you have to be able to understand how you create a situation of feeling minimized. Now, I'm not saying it's all you, but I'm saying that if it happened before, and it happened where you did not have control over it, but you actually tackled it, you dealt with it, you peeled back the layers, and you understood how it was that you needed to function moving forward, then you also you also benefit from the paralleling of recognizing, okay, yes, this happened to me, but is it happening right now? So is it happening right now, or am I creating the funnel? Am I creating the residue? Am I creating where it is that I need to ensure that this brief interaction that I've had maybe at job 4 or 5 years ago, that I'm carrying that energy from a survival to CEO standpoint, and I'm snatching myself backwards, as opposed to standing in whatever is going on. You've code switched your way out of it, but did you truly deal with the fact that how you felt? Because how you felt is important. But you have to realize that you do have some allies and you do have some individuals who you may work with that truly, truly shape your experiences, but they truly, truly just don't understand the dynamic of you as a professional of color, and how what they have said was interpreted and received as a slight or an insult, something that was like like it was denigrating messages to you as the professional who you are. So it's like making sure that you just kind of educate and understand when those hidden messages are happening. How do you make that 2 millimeter shift? How are you being responsible and making sure that the residue doesn't just get tucked in your briefcase and that you're carrying it every day? You know how you go in your briefcase and say, like, you're going to go to a conference or you're going to travel, you're like, okay, let me clean this thing out, and you end up pulling out some of the oldest napkins, the oldest pieces of candy, the like things that you just carried on. Think about that when you are going into a new setting, and what is it that you are bringing from an old situation? Because the encounters that you have had that may have slighted you, that may have insulted you, that may have had something negative that you layered into who you are today, you now need to have that divorce with that narrative, such that that narrative doesn't drive how your success is going to be on a day-to-day basis. So when you are in that space and you're code switching then becomes your coping mechanism. But even that, your coping mechanism, you have to be able to pull back the curtain. So cope in the moment, code switch in the moment, but then figure out how you don't dig yourself into a hole where you end up being stuck, where you don't dig yourself into a place where you're like, okay, I'm never this, or this is not going to happen for me, or promotion is not likely. You have to shift your mindset that in that code switching moment, that puts a post-it note for you to recognize, I thought I dealt with the residue of previous situation, but apparently I still need some work. And doing that work is infusing the GPS and that leadership blueprint where your goals are definitely very clear. You begin to position yourself and understanding your playing field, understanding your audience, understanding with clarity where is your touch in leadership, where is your touch in the field that's going to serve you the best, and then being equipped with that strategy that's going to help you execute well beyond that daily divorce of self. Because the challenge with the code switching and it being coping and us wanting to pull back the curtain and be seen and validated versus staying in that space of invalidation is that we have to know how to execute the decision making, the execution, knowing the strategy, and having the discipline that our mind shift has taken place such that we can level up. And so leveling up is knowing, what energy are you carrying? What energy are you carrying? What energy are you carrying? And what are you projecting out when people say certain things? Are you holding them accountable for something that you didn't resolve in your previous part of your career? Are you holding them accountable for wherever that core messaging comes from, that you are not purpose, that you have some limitations, that you have to do extra in order to show who you are unapologetically? You have to be able to kind of stand in your authority and understanding that every single day, I always say, every conversation is an interview, but every single day is a new learning opportunity to be willing to unlearn the thoughts, the strategies, the ideas that are not serving you well. And if they're not serving you well, how do you know? You know because of what the residue of how they make you feel. Do they put you in the positioning of feeling like there's a microaggression? And sometimes are you the cause and the catalyst for manifesting that microaggression to occur, to make you stuck because you're fearful of what's on the other side? And if you're fearful of what's on the other side and challenged with how it is that you unlearn those things that are not serving you, then you rather not be promoted. You rather not be well paid. You rather just kind of stick with the status quo and not realize that you have outgrown the assignment of the season and that the season is ready to put you in the next level. But if you are, and you're willing to like kind of look at how your intentions, kind of move around you, you are ready to change what those emotions, what are those residue, what are those blind spots are that's blocking your productivity. And so when you're ready to kind of really own in and identify how you could be more productive and how you can shift that emotional dialogue that's bossing you around, telling you you're not capable, you have to begin to say, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to invest so that my productivity can continue me to level up? Or you can choose to say, fear is going to be my boss. I'm afraid to release these handcuffs because someone told me that I will only be this position. Someone told me that I was only supposed to stay in this role. So when you make those particular choices from an emotional standpoint, emotions never really give you the information that you need to make the best decision. Just like possibly this cup of coffee doesn't give you that best place of making a decision because maybe you're not a coffee drinker. But whatever it is that you need to be productive, you need to divorce it. And in order to divorce it, it's going to take some painful realizations in that honest inventory. And it's work that you are really challenged in doing independently. And so why not have a leadership strategist who is skilled with not only that dealing with that emotional side, but helping you level up in a standpoint, in an authority stance that you could be snatched. You can have the strategic like networking alliances that yield the transformative collaborations that help you energize development. Like that's snatched. That's getting whatever it is snatched out of your system, snatched out of your intentions, and positioning you that excuses no longer drive your motivation for being able or saying that you're not able to do something. If you want to sit in the holding pattern and not grow, then choose to live in your excuses and in your fear all day long. However, if you choose to leverage your skills and you choose to leverage those gifts that are poured in you, and you choose to be able to activate how you lead with purpose and seeking how it is that you're going to do that change agency in your leadership blueprint, learn what your personal secret sauce is simply by making a decision to make that mindset shift, to make that 2 millimeter stretch, and know that your confidence is your confidence, and it's going to position you when you make the choice to no longer contemplate and decide, okay, well, do I do this investment? Do I take time to really understand how I'm blocking and creating residue for myself, feeding into these microaggressions? And am I really projecting and taking on these microaggressions and giving myself the labels of not being approachable, of not being a team leader, of how it is that I articulate, how my productivity is? Where is your confidence lying? Is it lying based on a human person telling you where it is that you should be? Or are you really in alignment with understanding that you have a purpose as a leader in this world? And as a leader in this world, it's time to pull the curtain back so that you can not only live your life on your own terms, but understand what is that inner dialogue that's keeping you stuck. Because in functioning or looking at how it is that you are rolling out as a leader, you have to be able to position yourself and know that, yes, sometimes you got to put a lot of things on pause, because compartmentalizing it is going to continue to have fires. Life is going to life, and you're going to constantly be going from one roller coaster moment to the next roller coaster moment to the next roller coaster moment. And when you want life to kind of not balance out where there's no challenges, because you need challenges in order to grow. However, don't you want to have a better control over how you level up? And if you want to do that, you want to get that side by side support, you can reach out to me, get on my calendar, so that we can begin with just kind of peeling back the layers and understanding who you are in your authority unapologetically as a leader, but then also making a decision and determining what are the ways in which you want to release the handcuffs that have limited you thus far in your role. Is it a microaggression that's projected or internalized? Is it something that is misperceived and not understood? How do you want to stand in your authority? I look forward to the opportunity to spend some time with you, to be able to walk side by side with you so that you can not only stand in your authority, but lead unapologetically. Thank you for joining me for another Tuesday morning cup of coffee with your leadership nuggets and myself, Mary May. And I'll see you next week. If you're ready for your breakthrough chat, feel free to reach out. In the meanwhile, you stay safe, travel safely, and be mindful of how it is that you are intentioned and in your purpose of living your life unapologetically. You take care.